Welcome to Mallett and Michelle on Dripping Springs, hosted by me, Michelle Lewis, and Steve Mallett.
Well, hello, Michelle.
Do you notice that sometimes when I say that, I look at the sign to make sure
it's me? Who is that guy?
Is he still here?
I'll always be here. Hey, our guest today, Kristen Hafner from Dripping Springs City Lifestyle Magazine.
Yes.
She's the editor and the photographer.
I am very excited to have her on. This magazine is beautifully done.
I was going to say that when I first introduced her, if people thought, oh, what is that? It's that beautiful magazine you're getting in the mail with all the locals and some great advertising, and it's a beautiful piece.
It reminds me of a town and country type magazine that you would get, that you would actually pay, and they are providing this to Dripping Springs free of charge.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Yeah, so we're going to find out all about that. Apparently she was going to be the photographer, but then they found out she was very talented, and they made her the editor.
Oh.
We'll get her in here in a little bit. Michelle, how much would you pay for a really good cup of coffee? $10?
I'm not a big, I like a little coffee with my cream.
Yeah.
So I'm not a big coffee aficionado, but so I don't what do you pay? Like $2 for a cup of coffee?
From McDonald's, maybe. I think if you go, I don't like Starbucks. Sorry.
It's too dark for me. It hurts my tummy.
Yeah. I'm not a big Starbucks fan. I do like the coffee. Mazama's good. Time and Dough's good. But there's a place in Austin. They have two locations, one in Austin and one in Portland. That's
the birthplace of Starbucks.
Yes.
Did you know that?
And the birthplace of many other terrible things.
Yes, true.
It's called Proud Mary's Cafe.
Uh-huh.
On February 6th, they're going to sell 22 cups of coffee that are $150 a piece.
Why? Does it have gold in it?
Yeah, it probably does. It's this Panamanian coffee called Black Jaguar Geisha. And it's $2,000 for a 1 pound bag of coffee.
What is in this coffee? I mean, I can't even imagine it.
This coffee won some big award for coffee overall, and it's super expensive. Some family makes it in Panama.
What a bunch of idiots that are going to pay $150 for a cup of coffee.
So we were running Saturday, and I was telling Holly and our other friends about this story, this $150 cup of coffee. And they all said, who's going to buy that? I said, they're going to have people lined up out the door to give them their credit cards for that $150 cup of coffee.
Social media influencers.
That's exactly what it is. They're going to take their little reels of them drinking their $150 cup of coffee. And I'll bet you there'll be people there that are disappointed that they didn't get their cup.
That's the stupidest idea. Now, if they were selling $150 cup of coffee and $49 was going to charity,
yeah,
I could see that.
Agreed.
But no, just for one drink,
all into their coffers. Yeah,
that's stupid.
It is stupid.
That's stupid.
It kind of shows how far we've come as a country where
we're idiots.
Yeah, well, people will pay for that, I guess, I'm holding up my hands, air quotes, experience of a great cup of coffee. But I just can't imagine it's that much better than what you'd get for $4 at Time and Dough.
No, that's funny. Your air quotes threw me. I think it's funny. You know, air quotes now is so CHEUGY.
CHEUGY? What the heck is CHEUGY?
CHEUGY is like
CHEUGY?
Yeah, CHEUGY. It's past its prime, and it's mainly Generation X. I just did it.
You held up air quotes.
Yeah, Generation X or the boomers. Yeah, that are using it.
CHEUGY.
Yeah, CHEUGY. Like something used to be in style and now it's not. It's CHEUGY.
So I'm CHEUGY.
Are you CHEUGY?
I'm CHEUGY. I used to be in style.
Is it CHEUGY?
Yeah. I got another sort of food story.
Are you hungry?
I'm not hungry. Actually, I might be getting there. There's an Australian chain of restaurants and they're coming to Austin. Apparently, they have a couple locations in the U.S. so far, but they're coming to Austin. It's called Karen's Diner. Have you heard of it?
No, but it sounds like just a bunch of people will go in there and complain about stuff.
If your name is Karen and you go in there and show them ID, they'll give you a free drink on the house. But the whole premise of this place is the world's rudest service.
Oh, that's kind of like Dick's Last Resort at the
Yes.
Riverwalk.
But I think they take it up a few notches. So some of the things that the servers will say, they'll roll their eyes at you and they'll threaten to spit in your food.
Oh, I'll kick their ass.
And when you go, they make you play games. So some of the games would be like you spin the wheel and you win some stupid prize. You have to beat a piñata with a plunger, a toilet plunger, karaoke, and then silly people wearing these weird hats and arm wrestling.
I just don't know if I want to work that hard for food, and so
it's an experience.
Is
That's
it right
what
next door to the $150 cup of coffee?
It probably is.
I'm going to actually,
where they'll make fun of you because, did you really buy a $150 cup of coffee, you idiot?
Well, so I'm paying somebody to be rude to me?
Yes.
Oh, that just happens naturally now, just going out in Austin.
I know.
Like, why would I pay somebody?
Apparently in Australia, it's so popular, you got to make a reservation well in advance. And it's just, regular diner food, burgers and fries and things like that.
You know what would be funny, though, is that we take somebody that's unsuspecting to there and not tell them what it is.
Not tell them what it is?
Like the sweetest person on earth, Maury Boyd. We could take Maury and not tell her.
She apologized. I'm sorry. Why'd you roll your eyes? I'm sorry.
Or we could take Annie, our little sidekick, and Annie would kick their butt.
She would, yeah. What are you talking to me like that for? I'll take you outside. Well, they I don't know exactly when they're going to open, but they did announce that they're coming, and one of their claims is they're proud of their 1-star rating.
Oh,
1-star service rating.
If you ain't first, you last.
That's exactly right.
So one of the things that I wanted to talk about today was media misinformation.
Mm-hmm.
We're just being bombarded by it, and I shared with you a clip the other day, and I'll kind of circle back to it about TikTok and how TikTok's being banned. Yeah. But trigger warning, we've all heard that the terms.
Are you saying there's a trigger warning?
I'm telling you,
defining the trigger warning?
I'm telling you the trigger warning is fake news, right? The word fake news and going viral, which just makes me want to roll my eyes when people say, I'm going viral, which sounds like you have some itch or rash.
Yeah, I'm going viral.
Or they went viral, or I don't know. But it's, we're being bombarded with what's truth, what's real, what's not. We don't even know really where to get our, absolutely. And it can be so detrimental and dangerous in more ways than you think, but it can be, we've seen it. It's been used to influence politics, economics, even like social well-being during COVID. Things that people were saying out there proved to be, or they were trying to prove that they were false, but now they've been proven to be true. And I think it's in like Great Britain where things that they're saying online now, they're fining and putting them in jail for things. It's
happening in Canada too.
Well,
I was just listening to Joe Rogan's podcast with Jordan Peterson on there. They're trying to strip him of his psychology. What do you call that? License to practice psychology because of some things he said that were political comments. Like, you can't even speak your mind politically. He said some things about Trudeau and somebody that worked for Trudeau, and he said some negative things about climate change, which the response to that really does prove that a lot of the people that are really absorbed in climate change is their religion.
Well, yeah.
And that's not a commentary on climate change. That's a commentary on the people that are rabid believers in that, this belief that we're destroying the world with everything we do, and we need to be, somehow controlled or managed.
Mm-hmm. And when you see that it's like it has incited violence, as far as like when they are releasing certain videotapes and what time, and medical confusion, like we were talking about earlier, and it just can just cause such confusion because you don't really know where to get your news from, right? But it kind of made me think about, like, where did all of this come from? But, fake news is not new. No. It has been around since the beginning of time almost, but most definitely since the beginning of print about 500 years ago in the 16th and 17th century during the Great Witch Hunt.
Oh, yeah.
When they were trying to figure out whether or not you were a witch, which I'm a witch.
Which witch?
I'm a witch. That's a sandwich. But, it incited murder, violence, whatever, but then also led to war propaganda. the American Revolution, the Civil War, the World War. But the biggest example of that, and I think we talked about it before earlier last year, was Orson Welles' hoax that he did in 1938 when aliens were invading.
War of the Worlds.
Mm-hmm. And I mean, so if you think about how sensationalized that was, and now things are
some of our younger listeners may not know that it was a radio show, and back then not a lot of people had TV, if anybody did, and people would tune in on Sunday night to hear their favorite radio programs, and Orson Welles did this radio program where the show acted like it was a news story, and it was about these aliens coming down, and they were taking over the world, and they were doing all these things, and people sat in their living rooms listening, and a lot of people in our country thought that it was a real news story.
Yeah, thought it was real.
Because, I think they did this whole, we interrupt this news program to bring you, live from Washington, D.C. There's this giant spaceship landed on the
And it's
on
fake.
The mall.
It was totally fake. And people and it was broadcast, and that's very dangerous. But then if you look now at schools are becoming more and more ingrained in digital literacy. And I think that's a new word that we all need to pay attention to. This gone are the days of encyclopedia. When you needed information, you'd go pull something off the shelf, and it was a fact. It was a fact. And now we have Google, AI chats, Reddit. These are just all becoming the norms. But there was a study that students nowadays cannot differentiate or recognize an opinion piece versus an actual news story. And that's pretty
scary.
If you think about that, it is very scary. But so when we go back to the TikTok thing.
Well, that's what I was going to tell you. Go back to that TikTok, because what you were telling me about that the other day, and I find that fascinating. So that the government, our government, and even at the state level, Holly was telling me at the Texas School for the Deaf, because of Governor Abbott's ruling that came down, they had to take, if they had TikTok, they had to take TikTok off all their government phones,
yeah.
not their personal phones.
UT has done it. I know the government from the very beginning, because I'm in the Coast Guard Auxiliary, I wasn't allowed on government devices have it, but I don't have any government devices. But these so-called fact checkers and bots. Adam Curry was on, to bring back Joe Rogan. Adam Curry, do you know who Adam Curry is? Does he sound familiar to you?
Nope.
So he's kind of a podcasting pioneer. And he was a VJ on MTV back in the day.
Wow,
but he's been into advertising and marketing, and he kind of really has his pulse on all things marketing, digital marketing. And he was talking to Joe Rogan about his theory about TikTok, and it's not necessarily far off theory in the sense that the reason why they're banning this, look, we've seen Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, they've all been infiltrated by Google, been infiltrated by the government, or the government's been, vice versa, right? The government has had their hands in the cookie jar.
Right.
And TikTok, they cannot figure out or mimic the algorithm that TikTok,
to manipulate it.
Yes. And so Joe Rogan's argument was, well, the terms of service, they're keystroke monitoring, this, that, and the other.
They can monitor everything that's happening on your phone.
Adam Curry says everybody can. Everybody can. How many times have you thought of something, or you've mentioned it, you and I, and then it pops up? Like if you talk about getting new tires, something pops up.
It's popped up the other day. I said something about, I need to get a pair of new boots, and now my Instagram feed is filled with boot ads.
A pair of new boots or a pair of boots?
A pair of boots.
But, if you think about it, as far as TikTok, now I do watch TikTok, but it's kind of what this generation wants. They want that easy, fast scrolling. I don't necessarily give a crap about the dances and whatever. I don't do any of the trends, but I do like information immediately. And sometimes it's nice to be able to see somebody on the street, they're doing a live TikTok, and you're without the filtering of somebody putting their spin on it. And so maybe there is a little bit of truth behind all of that.
Well, and it kind of goes back to what you were saying. So now, as a consumer of social media, how do I find the truth, right? Because most of the newspapers and news organizations in this country are doing the bidding of the federal government. right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
that's true. We know that. It's read the Twitter files. I mean, we know that's happening. And so then you have somebody else, just an average citizen, saying, well, maybe that what they're telling you is not exactly true. I don't know where to find the truth anymore. I don't know where to go to find the actual what is happening.
Through the research that I was reading for this weird true fact, the media misinformation, I don't even know half the stuff that I was reading was true. If it was just, I mean, it's like...
I think a lot of what we read online and what we have in our social media feeds is completely made up. I get a lot of stuff, nutrition things. I like to read nutritional articles, so my Instagram feed is also filled with these powders and gels and protein things.
Are you eating 4 peppermint patties as you're reading your nutritional articles?
Shush. Okay, I do have my vices. That's my biggest vice. But I don't. I'll see an Instagram video and it'll talk about seed oils are terrible for you. Canola oil and rapeseed oil and not all vegetable oils, but seed oils are terrible for you, and they poison your system. And then I watch them and I go, oh, I need to cut all those out of my diet. And I go, how do I really know that's true?
What was the thing that we said the other day about if you're looking for something, you're going to find it and whatever, if you're looking for it positively or negatively? That
is actually true, isn't it? If you go into some situation expecting something negative to happen, it's a pretty good chance something negative is going to happen. Well, I was reading a story the other day about Netflix and the password sharing, and this goes right back to what you were just talking about. Now there are it came out a couple months ago. Netflix is going to start clamping down on people sharing their password, their login and password, right? You and I talked about that. And we all do it with our kids. In your household, you've got 3 or 4 people that all have one Netflix account and they're all sharing it. And in the early days of Netflix, they actually touted that as a benefit to purchase their streaming service.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they said, hey, look, you get one login in your household, and all your kids can have it, and your parents can have it, and whoever's living with you can have it. Well, now they're going to clamp down on that. So you and Todd have one account; you can't share it with your kids. And I read 2 stories this week from Wall Street Journal and some other newspaper, I can't remember, about how great that is that Netflix is going to do that.
Wait a minute. So how, if I have multiple televisions or devices?
I don't see, that was part of this article. I don't know how they clamp down on that. Like if you have it on your iPad and you're riding a train somewhere, how do they know that's not you?
Yeah, because I download stuff. I saw something on TikTok. I saw something a couple of weeks ago, and it was this guy. I'm just going to make up his name. And he said that for some reason, this guy, Fred, we're going to call him Fred, has been using his Netflix account, and he has no idea who he is, but he has his own little profile.
Well, that's the example of...
He says that he keeps going back. He goes, he actually has some good suggestions. He goes, I've built this relationship with him based on him getting into my Netflix account.
Well, so that's sort of the opposite of what the example they used in these articles was this one guy stayed in an Airbnb and he logged into Netflix and he forgot to log out. And now the owner of this Airbnb has been watching Netflix on his dime for 6 months. And Netflix, through these news stories, has influenced these news outlets to say, isn't it great? You're going to find out who is watching on your dime. I don't care. Why would I care? I don't care.
You can log out of Netflix.
You can't change your password.
No, but you can log out of all devices within settings.
Yeah. So the point of this is, going back to what you were talking about, is media manipulation, truth in the media. Those stories are obviously planted, biased, because we all know that when Netflix clamps down, there's going to be some pissed off people.
Oh yeah, it's propaganda. Right? It's total propaganda.
It is. And those news stories are to lessen the blow, to soften the blow of that. And I think the solution is we all need to change how we consume our social media. And it is, we cancel those accounts every month. And we only subscribe when there's something on there that we want to watch. And at the end of the month, we cancel them again. And you just hop around on, a couple months on Apple TV, a couple months on Hulu, a couple months on Netflix, a couple months on Amazon, and you just cancel it.
Just think of how 5 years ago, both you and I had cable.
Yeah.
And streaming services just sounded totally stupid to us.
Yeah.
And now
The world's changed.
I've canceled cable, and I just watch, but like, okay, Yellowstone's a great example,
Yes.
right? So you watch Yellowstone on one platform.
On Paramount Plus,
and
right?
then they have, well, I watch it on MTV through Hulu.
Oh, okay.
Through Hulu.
So whatever.
But then they have the other shows, the offshoots from Yellowstone. And so now you have to get another platform to watch the precursor to it. It's just
them all around.
Yeah, it's
but
stupid.
that's my point. You know what? Like Netflix sometimes for 3-4 months has nothing I really care to watch, but I pay my $23 a month or whatever it is. I'm just going to start canceling it at the end of every month, and I'll go look to see what they have, and then maybe a couple months down the road I'll sign up again. It's not going to it doesn't cost me anything, right? A lot of times on Netflix there's nothing good to watch.
My kids watch what is it? YouTube.
I was going to say, I've been watching some stuff on YouTube.
They have YouTube subscriptions, so they watch most everything, even like football and whatever else on YouTube, or they steal our password.
Yeah. I pay for 2 cycling subscriptions, Peacock and GCN Plus, and I can watch almost all of those races on a free YouTube site called Synapse Cycling. So I don't know. I think the world's changing. I think some of these streaming companies that are feeling pretty high on the hog are about to have a little bit of an awakening.
Well, we pay almost as much for our streaming services as we did for cable now. So we're like,
we pay more.
The joke's on who? We're stupid.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, we are. Let's fix that. Hey, well, let's take a little break and get Kristen in here from DS City's Lifestyle Magazine.
This portion of the show is brought to you by the Mallett Integrity Team of real estate professionals. They are based in Dripping Springs and bring you over 45 years of combined experience helping people reach their hill country real estate dreams. When you want the best in town, call them at 512-829-2062 or look them up at mallettintegrityteam.com. And now, here's Steve and Michelle.
All right, welcome back.
Welcome, Kristen Hafner with Dripping Springs City Lifestyle Magazine.
Yeah, welcome to the show, Kristen.
Thanks,
We're
guys.
very happy to have you. I know we've had some yucky weather. It has been interesting in Dripping Springs the last couple of days, has it not?
To say the least, it looks like a tornado hit. It's beyond.
Yeah, a hurricane came through.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was just asking Steve, was this like a 100-year ice storm, 1,000-year ice storm?
Have you heard, Kristen? It's like once in a...
I don't know. Remember 2 years ago, Snowmageddon or whatever we want to call it. I thought that was going to be the worst for my lifetime.
I did too.
Goodness, this looks worse.
Oh, this is way worse. That was an inconvenience and electricity, but this was bad.
Well, we didn't have the ice the last time. Like I took pictures, my tree where it literally was like an inch in diameter around on those trees.
Those conditions we had where it was freezing and that super light mist almost, it just accumulates and builds up.
Days.
Yeah. So, well, hey, tell us how you ended up in Dripping Springs.
Sure. Oh, man. I am a native Austinite, born in Austin.
Oh, okay.
I went to high school at Hayes High School.
That's a rarity these days to find somebody that's actually born, besides my children, that are born in Austin.
Yes, I hear that a lot, but I'm very proud of it. I graduated from Hayes, and after that, I went to Philadelphia. I actually played volleyball in college, and why Philadelphia? Honestly, I was to the point in my life where how far can I go?
My daughter.
And that a school is going to pay me. So Philadelphia is where I ended up. And it was a road trip with my grandparents who dropped me off. And later I was thinking, wow, like how did they just leave me in this city? But great memories. But I hightailed it back to Texas.
What a culture shock, though.
Did you do 4 years there?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I left my senior year. It's something I'll be honest again. I don't really talk about it. It's one of those things where I'm not a quitter, and I kind of felt like I quit. But, everything happens for a reason.
Sure.
And once I got back to Texas, all those pieces fell into place. And I ended up in Houston, which is then where I met my husband. So, yeah.
How'd you meet him?
He was a University of Houston football player. And being an athlete, another interesting story. My roommate and I would, she was new to Houston too. We would just Google what to do on a Tuesday night. And we hit up all the, Mom, I hope you're not listening, all the dive bars, just all the little places. And we ironically ended up where the athletes were. And
what a shock. Oh, look, 6 foot handsome men.
pretty much, that's exactly what happened. So, yeah.
That's great. What
That's
a great story.
Not a bad dive bar to end up at.
Oh, man. Yeah. Thanks, Google.
Yeah. Well, I kind of piggyback on what Michelle just said the culture shock of living in Philly, that huge difference between Austin and Philly. What was that like?
Yeah, very much so. I mean, immediately, it was probably my first day on campus where someone did not move over on the sidewalk or open a door for me. And I was like, excuse me.
Were you like, no. Were you like, excuse me?
Well, not yet. I think I finally got there because I was like, I have to fit in here. Like, do I start saying wooder? And I don't know. But, at first it was a blast. And then as time went on, the newness wore off. And I realized this isn't really for me.
These aren't my people.
Exactly.
These aren't my people.
It's the East Coast versus Austin. Like when I first moved here, I was really surprised how polite everybody was. I came from the West Coast, and it was kind of shocking to me. Like I was walking into this mall, and this woman came out pushing a stroller, and she said, "Hey, how you doing?" And I was like,
She's hitting on me.
No, I didn't. I went, do I know her? Did I meet her somewhere already? But she was just being friendly.
Totally.
And I'm sure they don't do that. Do they do that in Philly? And just random people say hi?
No, they honk at you if you're at a stoplight more than half a second. When it turns green, they swerve around you. And I know all of this because when my grandparents dropped me off, I was like holding on to my seat. Like, go, hurry, go drive faster. These people are going to, I don't know.
That's why they call them the Boo
rage.
Birds, the Philadelphia Eagles, the Boo Birds. They boo their own
is
team.
that right?
Oh, yeah.
Right.
They're intense.
Are you going for the Eagles?
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah, I know.
mean,
okay, we'll let you remain.
Yeah.
I'm biased. I'm there for football. Right? Is that what they say? Go sports?
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah.
Go
I
sports.
am
Go
a big
sports.
sports
ball.
I
fan,
like
but
that. Go sports. That might be the title of our show.
I saw that in your bio you said that you had envy or jealousy for your cousins that were going to Dripping Springs when you were over in Buda. What was it that you envied over here? Because back then we were just like we had the Dairy Queen, the Texas stop sign back then. So what did you like about Dripping even back then that kind of knew, isn't that funny, full circle that you were going to raise your own children here?
I never would have thought I would have raised my children here, but I am very proud to be doing so. But looking back, it was just maybe the newness of it, the unknown. And I would drive out to my aunt's house and be like, oh my word, there is nothing out here. Like, why does anybody live out here? But I would also go like to their football games because my cousin played football and like, ooh, like these boys, these are new boys over here. They're cute.
They drink milk over here.
Oh my goodness, right? They probably have cows and stuff. Anyway, yeah.
That's great. And when did you start doing photography?
Good question. It's been about almost 11 years now because my oldest is almost 11. And it was one of those circumstances where I was working, selling advertising actually in Dallas, in DFW area. And that environment was not really conducive to a new mom. That was, happy hours after
Hustle,
work.
hustle. Uh-huh.
Yeah.
They had a beer fridge and that's fun when you're younger, but it was just not going to work with my new lifestyle.
Sure.
So I was looking for an avenue of what can I do from home and that would also let me have a creative outlet. And my mom had always snapped pictures of us, my aunt, and that's something that I always had an interest in. So I was in plenty of mom groups and saw an opportunity. Hey, let me take a picture of not just take a picture. I'm going to set up a cute little scene after. It's called Stroller Strides is what it's called. Very much similar to Drip Fit Moms. And okay, after class, let's take pictures of your kid Father's Day was coming up. This is one of my big ones. I let them hold a D, an A, and a D. And
cute.
then they put it in a picture frame. And this became a recurring thing. And then those moms are like, these are so good. I'm going to tell my other friend, and I'm going to tell this friend. And it just grew.
You turned your hobby into a hustle.
I sure did.
Did you have any formal training in photography?
I didn't.
Isn't that great?
Nothing past. I've gone to maybe a few workshops.
Yeah.
But initially, it was just, I feel like if it's in you, you have it. You know, you have an eye for certain things. I do not have the gift of directions. You can tell me 5 times, looking me in the eye.
I get it.
I'm tapping Michelle on the leg. I was like, where did you say you're located?
No, you got to give locations like McDonald's.
Yeah.
Turn it the Valero.
Yeah.
Don't say go west on
No.
290. I'm going to say, okay.
That's me.
So I don't have the gift of directions, but I have the gift of a creative eye. So that's, I guess, why I didn't really see the need to go to school for it or that kind of thing. I just ran with it.
Steve and I were talking about the early processes of photography, and back when, my grandmother was a professional photographer, and she was very much into film photography. I don't even think.
Only because
that's all there
digital
was.
didn't
That's all there
exist.
was. Yeah. And so do you ever shoot with film, or are you just
Have you
digital?
ever?
Have you?
In high school.
Really?
I guess that's how old I am, right?
Yeah.
Well, we had dark rooms and whatnot in high school, but since they had digital, and I never went back. I do have a number of friends in the industry who shoot film, and it's beautiful.
But can you imagine, like, now, we the majority of us, the average person, takes pictures more with our phone. And even still, we cannot take a picture with a group of women and somebody's like, let me see that. I want to see if I approve of that. And now back in those days, you would take a picture and that was your picture.
You see it 2 weeks later.
was
when it
the
came back
picture.
from Walgreens or whatever.
There was no Photoshop. There was nothing. Everything nowadays, even on social media, everybody has a filter on. As a matter of fact, I have a filter on right now.
Yeah, of course you do. So you did do some photography in high school, it sounds like, with the dark rooms.
Yeah, just as one of your electives.
Dabbled, yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely felt a passion for
Yeah.
it. I can take a picture of this leaf better than Cynthia.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Way to go, Cynthia.
And so you ended up being the editor and photographer.
Say that word again?
Yes, shush up. Shush up. The Dripping Springs City Lifestyle magazine. Do you have a background in being an editor?
Well, no.
Yeah. So there's 2 things in your life that you didn't have a whole lot of experience in. You just jumped in and you're doing great at it.
Well, and probably,
She's never raised kids either, and she's a
3
mom,
things.
so she's just flying blind.
Oh man. I mean, it's one of those things where I guess I was just born with, I can do this kind of personality. If you're going to give me a challenge, I'm going to conquer it and do the best I can. Maybe it's part of me that doesn't want to fail, or, well, that's it.
I love that.
You were talking about that in your bio, your Enneagram, and you said that you're a type 3, which is the achiever. And I was like, I had taken that test a long time ago, and I was like trying to remember what it was. And I'm kind of a cross between the helper and the loyalist. And I'm kind of I'm not a strong, pretty much anything.
Would I be type 3?
You're a perfectionist.
Oh, okay.
So-
Which type is that?
I think that's 4. I think it's 4.
okay.
I'll have to look up, but maybe I actually did a whole new type for Steve.
Yeah, you should.
I did a whole new, but explain like what that means to you, and being the achiever. Are you an overachiever, or you just go into something and hey, look, I don't care if I don't even know how to do it. I'm going to figure it out.
Right. That's it. I mean, it's one of those things where I just put my mind to anything in front of me. And sometimes I struggle with, I have so many things I think I can complete that I'm like, I'm going to do this and this and this. And then my plate is overflowing.
Sure.
but I will finish them eventually.
Yeah.
But that's kind of what happened with the magazine. To circle back to that, I just, my publisher, his wife Karen had posted on Facebook, of all places, just asking for a photographer. Now, this was in June, I believe, June or July, and it was in the middle of the day and during the summer. So my kids are home with me. I typically would never really go to a photo shoot like this, but I actually felt sorry for her because I was like, no one's going to answer this. And sometimes you just use those opportunities to put your name out there.
Yeah.
Kristen Hafner Photography. She actually messaged me. We went back and forth and she calls me and I thought this was just a photo shoot. She said for a restaurant or something. So, I had my mom, lined my mom up to watch the boys and get on the phone with Karen. And she's like, I'm actually, I own a magazine with my husband. And my mind was just like, oh, okay, Karen, what else? A magazine. Okay. So she's telling me, the ins and outs, we're starting it, whatever. We need someone to shoot Dos Olivos. Okay. New restaurant. They're going to be in our first issue, that kind of thing. So then that gets set up. And then I get a text between Will and Karen and myself saying, can you meet me an hour before? In my mind, I'm thinking, guys, this is just a photo shoot.
Yeah.
I got a babysitter and I just put out there, I was like, yes, but I got to pick my kids up from vacation Bible school. I got to do this. Can we meet, maybe 30 minutes ahead of time? Oh, my kids at vacation Bible school too. What church? Kids are at the
small world.
Same church. Their son, his name is Cruz. One of my kids' name is Crew. They're the same age.
Wow.
Just a lot of things started lining up that I just got a really good feeling. I was like, this is really cool. In my mind, still a photo shoot. Okay. I get there to meet Will. I was there first. And I was just sitting there. Where was it? What's the burrito place? Freebirds. Sitting at Freebirds. No idea what Will looks like. Just kind of sitting there waiting to meet a strange man. And someone finally flings the door open behind me with a stack of papers or magazines.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Hey, I'm Kristen, you Will. Hey, okay. Sorry. Yeah. Okay. So this is what's going on. He was just
frazzed.
full of, yes, he was very excited, driven, something was going on. He had a lot going on.
How long between the Facebook post until you actually meeting them?
I think it was a day.
Oh, wow. So you still thinking this is just a photo shoot.
Yes.
This is, and they obviously had other plans. They prayed about it maybe.
Absolutely. Yes. So he starts showing me these magazines. This is what we're doing. Here's other publications. We obviously don't have ours yet. We're slated to launch, next month, this kind of thing. So I'm still thinking, cool. Are you going to give me direction?
Yeah.
What are we doing here?
Yeah.
And he's like, well, we actually don't have we don't have an editor yet, blah, blah, blah. In my mind, I'm thinking, I wonder who could do this. Yeah. I probably, I'm in a lot of creative circles. I'm sure I could find someone. I'm pretty sure I told him, I can probably find someone to help you. What? Okay.
It's me.
Oh, my goodness.
I'm the problem. It's me.
Right. Yes, absolutely. So anyway, we go we chat a little bit. He tells me about the magazine, but really my mind is just, focused on this darn photo shoot I want to get over with and get back to my kids. So throughout the photo shoot, whatever, we're done. Dos Olivos, fantastic restaurant, by the way. His wife comes. So then there's Karen. She sits down and she starts talking. And then, they're like, well, we kind of looked up your stuff. We looked up your website, your social media. Are you interested in being an editor? And I'm like, oh.
Holy cow.
Oh, you're talking about me. Oh,
well, that escalated quickly.
Yeah.
Yeah, they started saying the duties, and I'm thinking, I've done that. Okay, I've created a website. I've had blogs. This makes sense. This is kind of everything I've done, just not called it an editor. I've organized, I'm creative. Yeah. Hey guys, sure.
Wow.
That's kind of how that unfolded.
That's an amazing story, though.
Yeah,
to be able
that's quite an interview process they have there.
Listen, we all went into this very blind, and I honestly think that is a huge asset and what has propelled us to be what we are. We weren't looking at what other people were doing. We were doing it our own way.
I've actually commented to Steve about the level, the quality level of just holding this magazine in your hand, and not to just sound corny, but it feels like a town and country. It feels like something that you would get out of Dallas.
Yeah.
You know,
It's
just a little bit escalated, because some of the other magazines that either we have been involved with or have seen throughout the Austin area, the paper is different, the photography is different, and
Doesn't feel as quality.
or you just go through and it's just ad driven, and you guys are story driven, and I love that about you, because that's kind of what we try to do, or it's our whole premise here on the podcast. And you've kind of taken what we are on the podcast, and you guys have put it on print. And with that, you had a question about that about print.
I was wondering, in this. Because print advertising, everybody says, "Oh, print's dead," but you guys are fighting that full on.
Yeah.
You've got this. You're putting all your eggs in this one basket. It's print. So why do you think you guys are being successful in an age where everybody's saying, "No, social media, online advertising"? What's working for the magazine?
That's a great question. I think the fact that people actually are missing print and didn't realize it. I think that, like you said, our physical publication feels different.
Yeah.
Yes.
Looks different. It is not tiny little ads everywhere. Our goal is not, advertisement sells or actually helps us continue to produce our magazine. That's the reality of it.
Quality over quantity.
Yes. But there is a way to display it that is still classy, and a way that your ads are still going to get seen by being placed next to a really appealing story.
Well, I also think, though, you being a photographer and having that photographic eye, photographers, from my grandmother's standpoint, I always learned that she really kind of learned to look at life through behind the lens. And so she's trying to take a snippet. And the photography in it is amazing.
Thank you.
Are all those pictures yours?
They are not. They're not all mine. I do have the privilege, thanks to Will and Karen, to have first rights at anything. A lot of the covers are shot by me. A lot of the stories are. But what I learned early on in Enneagram 3 world, I wanted to do everything. And I was exhausted. It was one of those where Will was like, "You're going to burn out. Yes, you can do everything, but you should not do everything." And
That's
it's not
a big lesson.
Absolutely. I'm still learning it. And it's not that I didn't want to delegate to people, because we have a town full of
talented, amazing people.
Many, which you will see throughout the magazine. We have Lauren Clark, who I'm sure you guys are familiar with her, but local realtor, blogger. She has, a lot of times I just have to message her and she's already shot what I'm telling a story about. So behind the scenes, if I use somebody else's photos or somebody else's article, I'm still the one that pieces it all together. But again, it is not all of my photography, but people throughout the town as well, which is such a blessing.
One of the things about the magazine is we all get so much stuff in the mail. And when I get your magazine, I go through it and I read the articles, and it's not like, you can't really just throw it in the recycling.
No.
It feels like It feels like something you want to keep.
Mine are actually on my coffee table. So I use them as like little coffee table, but I've been saving them because we have a couple of short-term rentals. And I want to put them in the short-term rentals as well, because
it's a great way to find out about Dripping Springs. Yeah. So is it a franchise?
It is indeed. Corporate headquarters is in Kansas City. And I haven't actually picked Will's brain about how he found this opportunity, but he was very diligent in choosing the right opportunity, because again, there are tons of publications out there. This one was noticeably different.
It's
From
it's
the
incredibly
quality
different.
to-
I think we had a magazine like this in Dripping Springs about 10 years ago, but it only lasted like 4 or 5
I don't.
editions.
Yeah, I don't.
But
I don't remember.
what's it cost for you guys to print those magazines? Like when you hold them in your hand, I said to my wife Holly, I said, these feel like they cost like $5 a piece.
Well, yeah,
to
because
print.
it feels and looks like a subscription type magazine that I would have to be paying $5 at the checkout
Have
or
you
more.
bought a magazine at HEB
I know.
lately?
No, I haven't because I'm not paying
They're like
$7.
$15, aren't they,
I
Kristen?
was looking at the airport,
Yeah.
and I know everything is raised at the airport, but it was it was like $8 for
a
little
people
thing
for a
my-
people
for my
magazine?
Yeah, for
my-
a comic book,
It was something for my kid. I was like, no, we're just gonna look
Yeah.
at it while we're in line, honey.
The cost of what used to be a paperback novel now.
Oof.
Yeah.
Yeah. And to answer your question, I don't want to give you the wrong answer. Will would know that.
Okay. Well, we'll ask.
And we're gonna have
we're gonna
Will
try
on.
and get Will on, and we'll ask him. Yeah. How do you guys vet your advertisers? Like, how do you make sure the people that are in your magazine are, because that speaks to the quality of the magazine, right? Is the quality of your advertisers. How are you vetting those guys or vetting those advertisers?
Yeah. So it is equally important to us are the stories that we're giving and who partners with us. We call them advertising partners because once they come in to be an advertiser with us, it's not just give us your money and show us your ad. It is way more than that. We are in touch with them. We try to help them with their social media. It comes with a whole slew of things as well as a friendship. Like we know these people personally, whether we did beforehand or throughout the course of them being in the magazine. That being said, all of these things are presented to them up front and there's a price to that. People have been like, whoa, that's way too much to be in a magazine. And maybe it is, but
not for some. Obviously, you're doing. Looks like you've filled it up every month.
But what you're getting, the value of what you're getting is you're not getting that from other magazines. Steve and I went to y'all's launch party. Yes. I want to know
Which was a blast.
It was a blast.
It
was gorgeous. And I have to tell you a story about your launch party. Okay, so you know the big trip that y'all had that Camp Lucy gave away. So the people that were kind of sitting catty corner to us, she had gone to the bathroom and she had given her husband her ticket. And when they gave the name out, she was in the bathroom and her husband had the ticket and he didn't pay attention. So she comes back from the bathroom. You guys announced another winner. And she was
they're divorced now.
Yeah,
by the
they're
way.
divorced. She's killed him. He's under the table at the Terrace Club.
So this was a trip to Europe.
Yes, it was a trip to Europe.
To London, right?
When it was
all expense paid
through the owners of
Camp Lucy.
Own a property there, and
but she was such a good sport. Like she was like, oh well, because she had already won something. She was like, oh well. But I want to know is who were the other 500 people that I saw there. Those, I was like, we know a lot of people in Dripping Springs. And we were like, wait a minute. Are these Austin people? Were these industry people?
Were those mostly Dripping people?
I would say 95%.
That's wild.
We need to get out more, Steve.
I think one of the differences was it was a younger crowd than you.
Than you?
Oh,
yeah, a
stop.
younger
Than you?
crowd than me for sure. Well, I mean, I think the average age there was probably.
That's because it was
30
after
years
9
old.
o'clock.
Yeah, that's true. She makes fun of me, but I go to bed before 9 o'clock every night. Who picks the stories? Are you picking the stories as the editor?
Yeah, yes. I wouldn't say 100% of them. So Will come to me with his ideas when we have our monthly meeting, and we have begun to form a team. First, it was just Karen, Will, and me. And Karen is also a real estate agent, so she has been very busy in that aspect. So for a while, it's just me and Will. Hey, just going back and forth with ideas and trying to figure this out as we go. We combine, come up with stories. So Will be like, I think we need to do this and this. A lot of times they are for our advertising partners. And each month, as you'll notice, has a different theme. So that really, first of all, it engages the reader each month because it's not the same. It helps me personally because I'm like, okay, so this month is kids. Let's, go this direction.
Oh, yeah.
so helpful. But as a team, we really just bounce ideas off of each other. The community, which we could definitely use more help with, have not really come to us in full capacity saying, hey, I have this story, or highlight this, or this is coming up. We're sensing that they're a little
we
more
need
private.
to coordinate with you, because we've had some stories. I don't know if you've listened to some of our podcasts, but we've had some fantastic stories on here, some very sad stories and some really just uplifting stories from, and every one of them's from this community. So we can definitely fill some magazines
collaborate.
with that.
And it has been interesting kind of getting to know the residents more than surface level. And, you know, when we sit here on this podcast for 45 minutes to an hour and just kind of visiting with someone, you really, it's been an amazing gift just to really kind of get to know somebody on that level versus like, you're like, oh, well, that's the owner of such and such,
right?
Blah, blah, blah. And then we sat there and we found out where they grew up. And
you're going to find out after this launches next week that people will come up to you and say, I didn't know you went to school in Philadelphia, or I didn't know you had 3 kids. It's been actually, people come up, and I've told the story too many times, but they'll come up to me in HEB and they'll go, hey, Speedo Steve.
I know, because
she called me Speedo Steve in like episode 10, and they'll never let it go.
Oh, man.
They do. And it's pretty funny. Like we talk about how he likes to swim. And I said, people around the office, you know, we all call you Speedo Steve. And he's like, no, they don't. I was like, yeah, they call you Speedo Steve. Well, not to your face, but maybe to your back.
Yeah.
But it's been kind of fun. But that's, you know, Dripping Springs, our residents have some really cool, amazing stories. And it's not even in the ones that are kind of really out in the limelight. You don't even really have to look that deep for someone here in Drip that has a compelling story. You know, when one of my favorite interviews last year was Coach Waite, and we sat next to Coach Waite for years. We had football season tickets, and
you may not know him, Kristen. He coached the football team from like 1956
forever,
to
110 years,
or something. Yeah, so way back.
And just to hear his story was he became more than just the old timer that sat next to us and jotted down numbers in his notebook. That to me changed the way I looked at podcasting and the way I looked at doing this. You know, when I've sat behind this microphone and I've shed tears on stories that people have said, you know, it's cool. It's interesting. And I'm sure you get just as invested in their stories.
I mean, just from the beginning, it has just been, even month after month, it's still shocking that, and it still surprises me how deep Dripping Springs is with just the level of people and quality and stories and love. And I'm sorry, I wish I had better adjectives right now, but
those are all good ones.
Just it's endless. At the beginning, we were like, okay, well, if we need to reach, you know, go as far as Wimberley or South Austin, or
there's plenty right here.
And
we had that same journey because when we started this podcast, we were on like episode 10. It's like, we're going to run out of guests. Now we're booking months in advance. So it's like, once people know, they can spread the word about
and people are coming to us.
Yeah.
You know, one of the people that I wanted to kind of give a little plug. We were talking about Joe Hogue, and he's one of the owners of 12 Fox. And he just started a fireside chat for veterans, just to kind of every Monday,
and first responders,
to kind of get around on Monday night and just share some brotherhood, some sisterhood, and just talk about these things that people in the community, you know, on days like this or weeks like this, when everybody's praising, you know, the guys up on the poles giving us electricity. But, you know, or my son who just called right before this, who's a military kiddo, but man, they struggle, and they have some issues that they need to get around and talk about. And I think that people like that, when you're telling stories like that, that's amazing. I mean, even though I did ask you to go pick up a Big Mac for me, and it's not.
I declined.
By the way, what are your good Fritos? Because you told me the other day that you were going to HEV, and you said they were out of your good Fritos. Because I have good Fritos, and I want to know what your good Fritos are.
Well, it's probably not that interesting, but there has been a Fritos shortage. Guys.
There has.
You haven't experienced this
because they're gluten free.
Oh,
Kettle corn too.
Yeah,
we've
kettle
been
corn.
trying to buy kettle corn for 6 months.
Do you
can't
like
buy it.
do you like the barbecue swirly ones?
oh, my husband does.
Oh,
Are
yeah.
they out of those?
No.
Let me stop you both. There is
sorry.
no
We're
such
gonna go
thing
off
as good Fritos.
Yes, there is.
okay?
And there's crack.
tell you why.
There's crack Fritos at Trader Joe's. They're
God.
elote Fritos.
Okay,
Well,
Michelle, come
I'm
back.
hungry.
Come
I'm
back.
hungry, Steve.
We're doing this thing called a podcast.
I'm
come
hungry.
back. So, Kristen, what do you think?
Hold on. Let me answer the Frito question.
Go ahead.
yeah.
Go
So
ahead.
sorry, because I
ahead.
am very passionate about this.
Okay.
The HEB, I love HEB. Most
Oh,
of
we all
their
do.
brand, matches up great. HEB, whatever, Hill Country Fair.
Yep.
That's cool. Let's swap it out if they don't have the regular thing. But HEB Fritos are lacking. And when they don't have regular Fritos, HEB Fritos
It's sad.
are very much like
yeah.
a cardboard box.
Ooh.
And my kids won't even eat them. And they're chips.
Yeah.
So it was right before the freeze, and everyone before noon went and grabbed their Fritos, the good Fritos.
We can
'cause
live
they
without
know
toilet
too.
paper, but we can't live without
don't have
Fritos.
Fritos.
Yeah.
Now everybody's going to know what to get you for.
Yeah, there you go. Stocking stuffers.
Oh, man.
Kristen, what do you think's the biggest thing you learned about yourself that now that you've become the editor of this big magazine?
Wow, that's a deep one. My love for people. I just really didn't know how deeply I appreciate other people and connecting with them. And I've always been a little bit of an extrovert. And I say a little bit because I love being at home by myself as well. But I will be at Mazama's and just I'm that person
Really?
that
Are
says
you?
hi to people, and that person's
Yep.
like, why are they talking to me?
Yeah.
Well, I liked your shoes, or what drink are you getting? Because I really don't know what to get today. I've become that person, and my kids are like, Mom, like when we're leaving church, can you stop talking
Yeah.
to everybody and just go to the car
That's
today?
Michelle. You and
I'm
Michelle are gonna
"But
be best
I just
friends."
Really like
They did that to
talking."
me the other day at chamber. Like they were both of them, Steve and Cedric. We
Come
feel
on,
like we're
Michelle.
at church.
Yeah,
We have to say
that's
goodbye
true.
to everybody.
Who does the social media for the magazine? Are you doing that too?
Oh, no, I am not. I am honestly, social media, you can get burnt out on
God,
that
you're telling
very
me.
easily. And doing it for so long for photography, I was like, well, we have to hire someone who knows what they're doing and does it as a job. So I actually had a friend who I know did this type of business. She actually does it on like an MLM side, if you know what that is, helping women grow their businesses and does
cool.
coaching and whatnot. And her name is Crystal Thompson, and she's here in Dripping Springs as well. And she, within the last 2 months or so, has taken over our social media, and it's been such a blessing.
Oh yeah, I follow you guys on Instagram, and it's great.
You do have a good
Yeah.
social media presence.
Thanks.
The reason I ask is because it's a whole different animal than what you're doing as editor and photographer for the magazine.
It's definitely a different side of the brain too. And social media now, it's just constantly changing. And
Yes.
even what it was 5-6 years ago, I don't even recognize it anymore. Sometimes we just look at it like,
Well, and 5 or 6 years ago, I cared about it. I have a hard time caring about it now.
I feel that deeply. Because once you have to know algorithms and when to post and
Well,
SEO,
now
yeah.
it's a job.
Yeah. Well, and kind of, you were talking about how you just like to take on all these things. If it's like such a time suck sometimes, you can go,
that too.
we caught ourselves last week. Oh, I got to do this reel. And then
Yes.
30 minutes later, I'm like, hey, I posted. I'm like, dang, that took me 30 minutes of my life.
oh, well, I was talking about being shadow banned. I was like, I'm posting things and I'm like, I think I'm being shadow banned. And I said it to my husband. He's like, what is that? And I'm like, he goes, what are you like hiding in the shadows? And you're like,
No, actually, no one just liked your pose.
that's right. I know. I know.
Unfortunately. So, Kristen, where's the magazine go from here? How do you guys grow from here?
Oh man, I'm gonna say we just keep being loyal to the community and bringing stories of value and interest and just loving on people. That's the
good.
whole goal we have. We also have a goal to support local nonprofits and bring those to light. There's so many.
So many. And there's some good ones too. They're
Yes.
really making an impact in the community.
Yes, huge impacts, and ones that I haven't even heard of and the community needs to hear more about. And so as long as we continue to do those things, I think the organic growth, just as we are doing now, is going to continue. And we're seeing that. I mean, Will isn't knocking down doors and doing cold calls. People are seeing the value.
They're reaching out to you.
Yes. And at the beginning, he's like, hey guys, I have this magazine, but it's not out yet. That kind of thing. Yeah. That was only 6 months ago.
That's crazy.
And now it's been incredible. Yeah.
So kind of technical, but to grow, you guys can only sell so many ads, right? So you were sort of capped at some point to how far you can grow.
So if you'll notice, if you would pull up or, in hand, have the first issue. Our first issue was 44 pages, I believe, or 40. Almost all the magazines start at like 30, 32 pages. I'm probably off just a little bit. But by the time that we launched, we already had like a record number of ad partners, which enabled us to grow in pages, which enabled us to have more editorials. So it's a balancing system. The more ad partners we have, the more editorials we have, and the bigger the publication is. Huh. So we're already up to we were 60 pages this last month.
Wow.
And we are about to be at 68 pages.
That's amazing.
That's crazy. You're getting to be the size of a book.
Yeah.
It's a coffee table book. That's
coffee table book. That's right. Well, you mentioned a little bit, you have 3 boys and all in DS Elementary, 10, 9, and 7, and you're a big DIYer.
Yes.
Do it yourself. What'd you say you did? You worked on your house, you do your own nails, you cut your family's hair.
I'm such a weirdo.
Steve needs his hair cut. So could you just cut Steve's hair cut?
Bring my clippers, Steve. We're just very much, if we can do it ourselves, we're going to do it. Yeah. We unintentionally have renovated houses and unintentional flippers, I guess you could say.
That's what I would, yep.
And then we just moved this last week because when we moved here, it was mid-COVID, and we had the choice of moving into the ugly house or the ugly house with a pool. And so we chose the ugly house with a broken pool. And so we completely redid that over the last 2.5 years. And just, I was not even looking for another home, but one just kind of popped up, and
that's the way life goes.
God's plans.
And it's in your same neighborhood is what?
Well, it was the one that I initially looked at. And then it's a long story. It had a terrible inspection, and so we can fix old bones, but not old bones that are breaking.
Right.
So we moved along from that, but we're still in the same schools for the boys, and we just really enjoy putting our touch on things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know how you have the energy. I remember when my kids were that age, boy, I needed a nap all the time.
You need a nap now.
I do. I need a nap all the time now.
It's not any different.
I haven't napped since 2009. I'm just kidding.
Well, I've really enjoyed this. Do you have any other questions?
No, I found out what kind of Fritos she likes.
Yeah, that was important.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I asked the hard-hitting questions,
yes,
Steve.
You do. Yes, you do. Well, Kristen, I'm really looking forward to what you guys do at the magazine. It's been exciting. The first one I got when you mailed it to the house, I was like, wow, this is really cool.
It definitely stood out for sure. Yeah. It definitely stood out. Thank you. We really are excited to watch y'all's success and just see what the end of year 1 brings you guys too. Because the first year you sleep, the second year you creep, the third year you leap, right?
Is that what it is?
That's a plant, but that's how how I've been looking at the podcast too. So
oh man, I just can't wait to see what stories unfold. And I know once the community, it's a trust thing. Once the community trusts us more stories will come, and we do get contacted about stories and whatnot, but we could always use more.
Yeah. One of the things we see it in real estate all the time, people want to make sure you're going to stay there for the long haul. So there are some people that will be a little bit cautious in the beginning. They don't want to engage with you. And then after you've been there for a while, they'll be like, oh, they're really something. Yeah. And then the people will come out of the woodwork that want to be a part of the magazine.
Yeah. And those people that started with us before we even had anything in our hands, I mean, thank you. Like, you're trusting a vision,
Yeah.
and that's huge. And we want nothing more than to, show them how much we value them and bring their stories to life too.
Yeah.
So.
Well, it's great to have you on, and we wish you great success with the magazine.
Thank you.
Thank you,
I
Kristen.
really appreciate you guys having me.
Yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, Kristen Hafner from Dripping Springs City Lifestyle Magazine.
This show has been brought to you in part by the real estate pros at the Mallett Integrity Team. When you're looking to buy or sell, you need them on your side. Why settle for less when you can have real estate done right? Give them a call at 512-829-2062 or get more info at mallettintegrityteam.com.
You know you like us, so go now to Apple Podcast or Spotify and leave us a review. Why don't ya? We love your feedback and comments. Email us at malletandmichelle@gmail.com.
Thanks for putting up with us.